Hey guys, how's it going? And happy Friday. I hope y'all are doing good. And I have a question for you. How many fans do we have of the ATF? How many of you would like more ATF? How many of you woke up today thinking to yourself, geez, how could I possibly get along with my life? There's so many problems in life. There's so many daily struggles, running around with the jackboot of the government on my neck, taxed to no end, trying to exercise what little bit is left of our natural right to keep and bear arms, protected by the Second Amendment. And as you thought that to yourself, did you think, well, hold on a minute. If I could just have a little bit more ATF in my life, everything would be okay. I mean, I'm sure if we could wake up James Madison and Thomas Jefferson and John Adams and Paul Revere and Ben Franklin, I'm sure they would want more ATF, right? Maybe they wanted a little bit more of the Church of England on our side. Maybe they wanted a little bit more King George. But definitely, here in America, I wonder how many just regular old people, I'm talking to all of you right now. See, that's why I like all of you. I get to hang out with a bunch of awesome regular people on here every week. How many regular, normal people in the real world would like just a little bit more ATF? Well, that's a question we're going to talk about tonight, because here's the deal. I got a little chip on my shoulder tonight. Here, let me brush it off. I mean, I'm in a good mood because I'm with all of you, but I'm a bit annoyed, to put it politely. Right? I'm trying to do like that comic book villain. Laugh. No. We're in a good mood, other than the fact that the largest gun industry group is calling for more ATF right now. You can't even make this up, but we're not making it up. That's one thing we don't do on this channel, is lie to you. Now, I'm going to go after FUDs tonight. I'm going to go after a lot of people in the industry tonight. I'm going to go after big government, big organizations, big NGOs, and big lobbyists. And it might offend a few people, but for all the real men out there, you'll probably actually enjoy this stream tonight, because I'm a little bit annoyed and a little bit ticked off. So we're going to get into all of this. It's right here. I'm going to read this letter they put out and read a little bit about this organization and see what you all think. And by the way, is anyone real excited for SHOT Show coming up? 10 days from now, SHOT Show. You can see how excited I am. For those of you just listening, because a lot of you guys listen to this as a podcast, watch my excited face. I'm so excited that SHOT Show's coming up in 10 days. All right, before we get into all of this, though, I do want to thank all of you for the many ways you help support the channel. Thank you to my YouTube channel members, which I see quite a few of you in the chat right now. We have channel member Paul Bennett, who pretty much every week is the first person in the chat. We have N8IWS. Sorry, Dale. Paul beat you by like literally 2 minutes tonight, so you can take a big second place, Dale. We have Barney Brady. What's happening, Barney? And hold on a minute. I know a lot of my members are the praying type. A lot of my viewers are. So for all of you who pray, I think we need to have Barney in our prayers tonight. He says, hey, my people, got some crappy news yesterday. 2 more months in this hospital. Man. Well, God bless you, Barney. And I'll be praying for you. And I'm sure a lot of other people will be too. I wish you a speedy recovery. And man, just try to keep your head on straight and keep your chin up, dude. I'm not going to say I understand what it feels like to be in a hospital for 2 months. I have no idea what you're going through, actually, but it sounds terrible, and God bless you, man, and speedy recovery. Hang in there, Barney. We have Mike Hammond. What's happening, Mike? And we have Pillbox Bunker. And I'm sure more, but it's hard for me to keep up with the chat at the moment. So thank you to all of my channel members. I see Mr. H0661 popping in there. Nice to see you, man. And Marco Polo. And I hope I didn't miss anybody. If I did, I'm so sorry, but nice to see everybody. And I'll read all of this chat on replay, as I always do. Also, thank you to my Patreon supporters, as well as my local supporters, which is a different site, censorship-free. Hey, if you guys want to keep this channel going, make sure you go over and check out the content I'm putting out on locals. Maybe become a supporter if you can as well. to help keep the lights on for this channel. And I just put out a really cool live stream. I made the replay available to everybody, both on Locals and their sister site that rhymes with Fumble. Links are down there in the description. Some cool classic milsurp stuff, and I think you guys will really actually like it. So if you're into that kind of stuff, we put that over there because, look, this channel is sitting here with a strike on it right now. Not really sure what kind of videos I'm allowed to put out, actually, or how long I'll even be allowed to be here. So I'm putting my other content over, like I said, on the censorship-free sites. I didn't miss you, Rick. There's just a lot more of you guys than there are me. But nice to see everybody tonight. All right, and thank you for anybody who may leave a super chat. I will read those, and you guys are my sponsors. I'm not doing any ad reads whatsoever, but there are some links down there in the description. Make sure you check those out. You can help support the channel a little bit. I'll give you a real quick example, and they don't pay me to say this, but you guys can support Blackout Coffee. There's a link down in the description, a generous coupon code for your first purchase. It's really good coffee. Me and my family love it. I know a lot of you guys buy there on a regular basis. So if you normally drink Blackout Coffee or just want to try it, follow my link before you're making your purchase, and a small percentage will go back into the channel. Man, how you doing, Barney? God bless you, sir. Man, I hate to see when one of my friends isn't doing good. And all right, we're going to get into this. Barney wants us to move on and have a good night tonight. I'm looking at your comment there, and I'm like, dang, dude. God bless you, Barney. All right. So the ATF. Now, some of you are a little younger, some of you are a little older than me, but this has been an unconstitutional government agency group for decades. Literally their inception in the 1970s. Completely and utterly unconstitutional. See, here's what the Constitution says. It's real simple. It's real clear. We shouldn't have to have a channel called 2A EDU, but I mean, I'm glad we do because we get to hang out together. But this is literally all the Constitution has to say about the right to keep and bear arms. There shouldn't be any ATF. There shouldn't be any gun control. We shouldn't need to have a group that represents the gun industry and lobbies for them, because you shouldn't need to be part of a group. You shouldn't have to be a special licensee, because it's real clear a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It doesn't say unless you have a certain type of FFL. It doesn't say unless you have enough lobbying bucks on your side. It doesn't say any of that. It says the right of the people. It doesn't say the right of the corporations. In fact, one of the biggest reasons this country was founded was to get away from the monopolies and the oligarchy of the corporations. The Dutch East India Trading Company, all the different versions of the East Indian trading companies, the Brits, all of this. World conglomerates that were so powerful, they were going to use little things like tax on tea to have leverage against these colonists, against the first Americans. And you know what the old thing used to be in this country? Not for everybody. It was never for everybody. There were a lot of Tories, there were a lot of loyalists, but about 3% or so, they say probably been a little bit less than that, but about 3% and probably less of the colonists said, you know what? No, we left to get away from the tyranny of the Church of England. We left to get away from the taxes of the crown. We left to get away from his cape, his crown, and his jackboot on our neck. And then when they started to try to run stuff a little bit like Britain over in the colonies, they basically said, F you. I'm not going to do what you tell me. I'm not going to pay your tax. We'll dump your tea in the harbor. We'll have a Boston Tea Party. We'll dress up as savages to come in and do our deeds. And we ain't going to give up our guns, and we ain't going to give up our ammo. And Christ is king, and we're going to worship God Almighty how we want to. And that's the things they formed this country over. And that's what they declared they were going to do. That's where our founding fathers declared that rights come from, how a government should be instituted, and to what purpose the government is supposed to be allowed to exist at all. declared July 4th, 1776. A lot of bloodshed, a lot of brave men. We actually did have brave men back then, if you can even imagine that. And they formed the United States of America. And here in America, we're not supposed to live in a caste system. We're not supposed to have better thans. We're not supposed to make people acknowledge our titles and our royal family bloodlines. And you're not supposed to have a certain level of license to be able to actually exercise the right to keep and bear arms. And according to the founding of this country, what America really should be, and I'd like to get it back there again as much as possible. See, we're never going to get the Second Amendment back how it's supposed to be, with the ATF even being allowed to exist at all. But you're not supposed to need permits, according to the founders, and you're not supposed to have everything where it's this few elite are allowed to manufacture certain things. But we do have that. And the ATF's the enforcers of this, and they're the jackboots of this. They've killed a lot of families. They've killed a lot of dogs. They've killed a lot of children. You know, you think about things like Waco, Texas, the so-called Branch Davidians, David Koresh, and his very large family. You think of things like Ruby Ridge, a sniper gunning down a mother with a baby in her arms when she was coming out to surrender. You can't even make this up. And it's just unconscionable when you think about that. Brian Malinowski, the airport executive, gunned down in the wee hours of the morning in the cover of dark in his own home. Because maybe they said he was engaged in the business of something without having a proper FFL. And guess who made that rule, by the way? That was the DOJ, and that was the ATF. So we can go all the way back to the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s, Operation Fast and Furious, the murder of Special Agent Brian Terry of Flat Rock, Michigan, through these guns that were run by none other than the ATF and our own government. But we can go just a couple years ago, Brian Malinowski with an ATF rule. They said, well, he might not be abiding by the rules, so they gave him quick justice. They gave him the old strong arm of the law. And according to them, justice was served right there in the foyer of his house. See, he didn't get to live to be tried by a jury of his peers. He wasn't there for his legal counsel to put exculpatory evidence forth. Now, they come in jackboot style, SWAT team style, raids in the middle of the night, in the cover of darkness, flashbang, flashbang, MP5, MP5. Just as much chaos, carnage, and rounds going into the alleged suspect as fast as possible. That's because he made the mistake, they'll say. He made the mistake of coming to the door with a gun to try to defend himself. Well, no one's going to tell me that's not the red-blooded American thing to do. Someone's breaking in your house. They're called no-knock warrants. They're called raids. Extrajudicial punishment. Complete bypass of due process. Yeah, dude, it's the right for anybody to try to survive and to protect themselves. That's why, as the Declaration said, these are the laws of nature. And nature's God. God entitles us with the right to protect ourselves. And entitlement's a really, really big word. And you're not entitled to anything unless it's literally granted by your creator. But when it comes to these certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Of course, you have the right to protect life and to protect yourself and to want to live. Until the ATF comes in your house and guns you down. And I've only listed you a few. I've just listed some of the most famous ones. What happened in Las Vegas? Huh? What happened a few years ago when they quickly banned the bump stocks? What happened there? I'd like to know what happened there, but I don't think we'll ever get an official narrative that even makes a scintilla of sense, actually. And if I were to opine, I'm sure they were behind that too. The ATF is your worst nightmare. The ATF is America's worst nightmare. The ATF is the Second Amendment's worst nightmare. Just think in this most recent administration, the one that just got over with a year ago, of the office of the former vice president, we call him, right? Brandon, I think he went by, and many other things. Look, he didn't even know where he was. Literally had no clue where he was, what was going on. Got his sister and his wife confused. Again, I'm going to say this a few times tonight. You can't even make this crap up. But he sure knew how to send directives into the ATF. We had frames and receivers rulings, right? We had bump stock rulings, pistol brace rulings, engaged in the business of rulings. They also ruled that just by you being a white Christian conservative, maybe you like to celebrate Christmas, maybe you say things like Christ is king. And by the way, Christ is the only legitimate king. I'm not ashamed to say that here because that's what I believe in. But just by doing that, you can get put on list, the do not fly list, which turns into the do not buy list. And they're trying to put together another do not buy list in Michigan. All of this stuff promulgated by deep, dark, seedy organizations, otherwise known as bureaucracy. These are bureaucrats. This is the unelected fourth branch of government that's not accountable to anybody. You don't vote for them. Rarely are you even allowed to know their names. They just show up. Nobody knows the time. Nobody knows the place. But you always have to be a little bit worried. Look over your shoulder a little bit. Don't you? Well, hold on a minute. Do I have an AK in my hand and also a belt loop on my pants? Yeah, they've actually deemed before that belt loops can constitute a violation of the NFA. Just cut a fraction of an inch too much off of that shotgun barrel. You know, maybe you tried to cut it down to 18.1 inch, but somehow your tape measure was a bit off and it was 17.99 inches. You're thinking to yourself, well, what does a hundredth of an inch off a shotgun barrel matter? What's it matter what the length of a shotgun barrel is at all, actually? I don't know the answer to that. And I'd tell you to ask Vicki Weaver about it, but she actually can't answer you. Because since her husband, I say allegedly, cut down a barrel of a shotgun just a little bit too much. Not a lot, but just a little bit too much. See, it doesn't matter. These are jackboots. They come into his property to confiscate it. Now, look, I'm going to get into this in a minute, guys. And by the way, I will do a short video. Whoever's clacking out on replay, get to the point. You could do this video in 5 minutes. No, thanks. I can do whatever the hell I want. So shout out to everybody who's watching on replay. This isn't a 5-minute video. This isn't TikTok. This channel's not on TikTok. This is also not a YouTube short. Guess what? Love it or leave it. I don't give a crap. For everyone who likes the replay and likes to listen to this long form comment, shout out to you. Make sure you leave me a comment. Let me know you're out there. And this is long form. Now, I'm sorry, guys. I have to say this for all the adults in the room. But we have a bunch of people with an attention span the size of fleas. And they love to come in and ridicule me every week because they're like, get to the point, get to the point. I'm like, and you know what? This is probably why we find ourselves in the shape we're in, because this is the point. Because I'm not just going to sit here and sugarcoat it and say, the ATF, these are not so nice guys. And the largest gun industry groups calling for more of them. No, we need to remind ourselves of this, and we need to think about this. Because not many people want to talk about this, but we will talk about it here. The ATF comes in because of allegedly. Now, I have to say allegedly with Randy Weaver because he got acquitted by a jury of his peers. He was an innocent man. Don't forget this. After all this was said and done, he got acquitted by a jury of his peers, found not guilty. Found not guilty on all charges, by the way, which means he never actually even committed a crime. But he was alleged to have cut off that barrel a little bit too short. And they come to his house. Now, this is located out in the middle of nowhere, where anybody with a brain would love to live, actually. I'd love to live in the middle of nowhere, wouldn't you? For some of you guys, you actually do, and shout out to you. He's out in the middle of nowhere. Strangers don't come around a lot to those parts. That's where I want to be. where it's like, yeah, strangers don't come around much. Don't care for strangers, don't care for the government. Just leave me the hell alone. They come browsing around, getting ready to come in and do their little jackboot parade, and the son's out there with the family dog. Well, dogs have good instincts, don't they? Dogs and children both, man. They'll just tell you how it is. And the dog took a little snarl and went, ruff, ruff. See, the dog knew it was a jackboot. Dogs can sense evil, by the way. I know they can. And don't forget, this is a battle of good versus evil. That's all it's ever going to be, and all it ever will be. Just remember that. And for those of you that have faith in something higher than the United States government, just keep leaning on Jesus. Keep your chin up. This too shall pass. All of this shall pass. Don't forget that. But while we're here, we need to be reminded of it, don't we? Evil people comes on the man's property, and the dog goes to bark at him. Well, these people don't like dogs. They don't like dogs at all. So what's the ATF do? They shoot the family dog. Now the teenage son, a young boy, really is like, what? You killed my dog? I mean, let me ask all of you that are dog owners out there. Does someone just get by with just laying your dog out in front of you? I don't think so. So they shoot his dog and he goes to raise his gun. I mean, that's the American way. You need your citizenship, in my opinion, revoked if you don't try to protect your own dog on your own property, if you know what I mean. I'm not advocating for committing any crimes, YouTube. I'm just saying, what kind of a red-blooded American doesn't stand up for his own dog on his own property? And the kid did. And then they kill him too. Before long, they're making their way up to the homestead, and there's a little bit of a standoff. Randy Weaver's in there with some of the rest of his family, holed up. And there's a standoff. He ain't going to come out. They know there's, women and children inside. Finally, after a prolonged standoff, the wife comes out to surrender. And she says, look, here's the thing, man. I've got my husband's back, but there's an infant baby here. She comes out with an infant baby swaddled in her arms. Just think about this. This is the same ATF, and we have to remember this is who the ATF is. Was, is, same difference. Comes out with a baby swaddled in her arms. She says, the baby's got nothing to do with this. Let's get the baby to safety, and then we can take this back up with, my husband and you all afterwards. Now, keep in mind, Randy Weaver's an innocent man. After all of this is over, he gets acquitted by a jury of his peers. Don't forget that. I mean, let's just think about this for a minute. Is there anything more beautiful than a baby, than a small child? You combine that with, and this is the beautiful thing about women. Look, we need to repeal the 19th. We need to get women out of politics. This country could turn around so fast you wouldn't even believe it. But we don't hate women on this channel at all, actually. Women are beautiful. They're lovely. And here's the most beautiful thing about a woman, and this is the essence of why women exist and why men exist. It's really just this simple. Women exist to birth beautiful babies and to hold them in their arms. Can't think of anything more beautiful on this earth than that, actually. And I've been lucky enough to see my beautiful wife holding my beautiful baby in her arms. And the man's job is to protect his family. And that's why Randy Weaver had a gun and was willing to have a standoff against the federal government over it. She comes out with the baby in her arms. And it goes from one of the most beautiful things ever, a mother with her baby swaddled up by her bosom. And she tries to surrender. She says, I have a baby. And a sniper, a U.S. gun, a hired government thug, snipes her. Kills her right there with the baby in her hands in cold blood. Now, she lives a private life. That's why I'm not saying her name, but I have done a little deep dive. That baby girl did actually grow up. She's in her 20s now, I believe. Maybe pushing 30 by now, but I'll just say she's somewhere in her 20s. She's into riding horses, which that's what people like to do out west, right? She rides horses. I found a private Facebook group of hers where she likes to take her horse to shows and things like that. Never got to know her mother. Her mother was killed when she was an infant. Now, Randy did live long after the so-called incident at Ruby Ridge. He ended up dying of natural causes, I want to say 5 years ago now, somewhere along those lines. Innocent man, acquitted of any crime. This is the ATF. And I'm kind of getting to the point now, man, where we need to start separating the wheat from the chaff. You're either with us or you're against us. You either love the Constitution and you love the right of the people to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed, or you hate it. You either say F the ATF or you support them. And how could it be that you could have gun owners supporting the ATF, or you could have gun owners supporting groups that want more ATF? I don't know. I have a hard time figuring it out. But my opinion comes to me very quickly. It ain't right. It's hypocritical. I don't like it at all. Now, last week I talked about the free tax stamp. There's many ways to look at this, but to briefly summarize, the process is the punishment. Getting put on a registry. Having to ask for permission to be able to move your property in many cases across state lines. Having to do everything that you have to do when you're booked in jail as an inmate. You have to give them your mugshot, your fingerprints, fill out paperwork, give them all the intimate details of your life. Wait a minute. Someone's thinking to themselves, wait a minute, 2A EDU, but I thought here in America, we have the right to be secure in our persons, our effects, our papers, and our houses. Under the Constitution, actually, yes. And the Bill of Rights. That's why I'm such a big fan of the Bill of Rights, obviously. I know you are too. But not under the ATF, you're not. You're not securing your papers. Show me your papers, even to get the free tax stamp. You're not securing your persons or effects because you're subject to being inspected when you're stopped by law enforcement. Freedom to travel throughout the country? Not with all of your arms. Without permission slips in many cases. Oh, but you can do the permission slip now online. Yeah. Just give them more information. Just make it a little bit easier to give more information. Dude, that's all people want nowadays, is just make it easier for me. Easier for what? To be like lemmings walking over a cliff? Here, sir, I'll make it real easy. I'll hold the drop of cyanide above your breakfast tea. Oh, well, thank you, sir, since you made it so easy. Just give her a big squeeze, I guess. What the hell's wrong with America nowadays? The easier, the better? Even if it's like easy to your own chagrin? Easy to make it where it's perpetuating your own demise? No, they're making it real easy now. Here's another thing a lot of people don't think about. And I know a lot of my friends are getting free tax stamps up the yin-yang. Look, I'm going to have more than all of you soon. I'm getting 1 million free tax stamps if I have my way about it. But here's the deal. 1 million. Oh, I told you guys I wouldn't lie to you. My goal is to get 2 million tax stamps. There's going to be so many in here. There's going to be no more stream. I'm just such a huge fan and all. But no, to all my friends, seriously now, that are friends, you know, they are friends too, that are like, dude, I'm getting the tax stamps. I just need to comply. I need to do all this. Okay, now think about this. You could very, very quickly find good friends of yours and family members being subject to some severe criminal charges. Think about this, for example. You've got your little whatever, your little 9mm. Used to be a pistol caliber pistol. Now it's an SBR, and you've put a can on it. And you wake up in the morning and you're cock locked, ready to rock. You're wearing it around in your ghillie suit in your kitchen to get your coffee going. I know there's at least somebody watching that wears a ghillie suit when they wake up to get their coffee going. I mean, this is America, right? America. So And you're like, oh, darling, I have to go to work. Oh, shoot, I work in a gun clean zone. Here you go, baby. Go put this back in the safe for me. And you hand her the SBR and you leave. Do you have a trust? Well, what's a trust? I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a trust fund baby, you're thinking to yourself. Trust? I mean, I guess I'll just trust the government with all my intimate details. But other than that, I don't know what trust is. You do know that other people aren't allowed to possess your NFA items out of your direct supervision, right? So I'm just thinking about all these things. Do you know how many people, in my opinion, could be getting hemmed up on serious felony charges because they're like, oh, yeah, here, uncle, just go borrow my rifle with this can on it and take it hunting for the week. Oh, hidey ho, neighbor. I trust you, man. You've been my neighbor 20 years. Here, throw you an SBR in your truck and take it around to dispatch some of those coyotes. You could get in big trouble for that. So could they. I wanted to mention that because not a lot of people are talking about it. So there's free tax stamps. And I'm clearly in the minority, okay? Like, look, I'm against it because I don't want to accept the premise, and I've done lots of live streams about this. We need to abolish the NFA. End of story. All gun control is unconstitutional, and the NFA is right there at the top. Period. End of story. That's it. And we need to be calling for abolishing the ATF, defunding the ATF. And he's broken into a million pieces and scattered into the wind, if you wanted to know my remedy of it. Make it a museum, whatever, all this stuff we've been promised in recent years. But it's not a museum, and it's still around, and it's still real. And while I'm sure it's less worse right this minute under this current administration than it was the last, see, how short-sighted are people's memories? Because the $0 tax stamp still keeps the NFA alive and well. The same administration that, while being much less jackbooted than the former presidential administration, that's who runs the ATF, by the way. You've got the president, okay, who appoints an attorney general, which is Pam Blondie, no friend of the 2A, been anti-Second Amendment for years publicly many times, against bump stocks, against red flag laws, wants you to be 21 to buy a gun, against owning certain types of triggers in Florida, many other things. This is the head of all this. Okay. Now, keep in mind, this president's out of office here in 3 years. Things are not looking good if people haven't noticed for these midterms. Things are already not looking good for my Republican friends during this next presidential election. You could have President AOC. I mean, you could literally have President Buttgig with Vice President AOC. Now, I'm not forecasting that. I don't want that. I'm just saying, like, don't rule that out. That could literally be. Don't think for 1 minute when the Democrats take all this over again that they couldn't raise this tax stamp to $4,000, $5,000. That's just accounting for inflation alone. $10,000 just to make it more punitive. Maybe $1 million. Who knows what they'll do to it? Don't think for a minute that the ATF, whatever size it is, however large the department is, whatever resources they have, don't think that that couldn't be putting forth another 5, 10, 15, 20, maybe 50 rules to even further infringe upon the Second Amendment, to make all of you future felons of America. We had that t-shirt and patch here on this channel. Some of you may actually have that patch and or t-shirt because those were available for a little bit of time. Do you remember future felons of America, where tens of millions of Americans were about to be felons overnight? I just don't want people to forget about any of this. The ATF is what does this. Yeah, they might be a little more on our side or less against us would be a better way to word it now than they were a few years ago. But what's going to happen in the next couple of years? I don't inherently trust this administration or any administration either. What could happen in a month? See, keep in mind, while there's tons of industry people right now, some good people in the industry, Palmetto State Armory is one of them, and others that have a huge lawsuit going to try to get all of these $0 tax stamp items removed from the NFA outright. That's their 3D chess. I hope that happens. I'm rooting for them. I support people that support removing these from the NFA. Okay? It's a noble cause. I'm all for that. But here's the problem. Pam Bondi and hers, the DOJ right now, are fighting against us on that effort. They're fighting to keep all these NFA items. Well, if it's $0 that they're bringing in for each tax stamp, why wouldn't they want to get rid of it too? Well, they don't want to get rid of it because they'd be getting rid of power. So with all of that said, all of these things could happen in the future. To make it where these tax stamp items, there could be further restrictions on them. They could add more things to the categories. They could raise the fee, raise the price. Now, you're supposed to be securing your houses, your effects, and papers. You do know NFA items are subject to inspection on their beck and whim too, right? Now, look, man, I'm just telling you, every time I say this, I get people arguing with me. I've done my research. I've actually presented it on this live stream in the past. It's in my library. It's in my catalog of contents. You can take my word for it, or you yourself can look it up. But I'm telling you, sometimes they'll give you the option of you can bring your NFA items in to the local office, and they'll take a look at them there. But they don't have to. According to the law, they can come to your home to inspect NFA items. Now, I know they don't do this to a lot of people, and there's a lot of people right now probably thinking, but they've never done it to me, and hopefully they don't. But they can, and sometimes they do. Now, think about an AOC butt gig administration. You think they might be a little more likely to want to come to your house? I would think so. Even though this current administration is fighting to keep these on the NFA. So what's the big deal right now? Well, here's the big deal. And here's what I wanted to talk about a little bit more tonight. The NSSF, that's why I mentioned SHOT Show earlier. They're the ones that run SHOT Show. This is the largest industry group. Here, I'll pull up my email. It doesn't take long. Here, right here. This is just the one from today. See, at 4 p.m. Right here. Here's the deal, guys. I've been invited. And I'm not registered. There's only a couple limited spots available, blah, blah, blah. They've been sending me these quite a bit. Sorry, but I don't hang out with people who like the ATF. Now, Congress and the Trump administration was supposed to slash the budget of the ATF like crazy. As far as I've seen from early reports, that's really not happening at all. Now, the NSSF wants more ATF. I think first I'm going to tell you who they are, and then we're going to get into the what, because the what makes a little more sense once you understand the who. And this is from their website. And again, everything I'm going to say about them is in my opinion. The National Shooting Sports. For now, some of this speaks for itself, but my opinions are my opinion. You have to say this right now. These people will sue your you-know-what off. The National Shooting Sports Foundation, NSSF, is the trade association for the firearms industry. Now, you heard me earlier, right, in my monologue. I reject the premise already. I'm already out. That's all I need to read. Because, yes, we should have industry. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with industry. And firearms industry is awesome, but you shouldn't need to be part of a cult. You should not have to pay a jackbooted tyrannical government an extra fee to be able to partake in. That's where there's constitutional problems with this. That's where I have philosophical and core fundamental problems with all this. So don't think I'm against businesses. Being a small business owner myself, don't think that I'm against every gun company. My point is, you shouldn't need to have all these different levels of FFLs to be able to partake in something that says the right to keep and bear shall not be infringed. That's my predicate. That's my issue. So the NSSF is the trade association for the firearms industry. Since its founding in 1961, the NSSF has sought to represent the broad scope of the hunting and shooting sports industry. So Elmer Fudd. Members include manufacturing of sporting firearms and ammunition. Oh, sporting firearms. See, that's why I had to throw FUD out there. Sorry, my Tourette's just kicked in. I'm like, FUD. Members include manufacturers of sporting firearms. Just remember, we already have a law in place that at the Attorney General's sole discretion, we're only allowed to have these certain guns and ammo at all based on if they have a sporting purpose. Let's see here. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to shoot skeet shall not be infringed. Whoa, whoa, whoa. The right of the people to compete in 3 guns shall not be infringed. Wait, I know what it is. I missed one. I'm sorry. The right of the people to partake in bullseye shall not be infringed. Now look, as Americans having property rights, of course you have the right to partake in all of these sports, as many as you want, except for one thing. Men are not allowed in women's sports. I'm sorry. There's males and there's females. Males have a penis. Females have a vagina. That's it. There's nothing more to discuss here. Second Amendment's not about hunting. It's not about fishing. That was a prerequisite to survival at the founding. If you didn't hunt and or fish and or grow, you didn't eat. Although sports are terrific things, dude, I'm an American, man. Like baseball, apple pie, white Christian male conservative. Sports are great, but the Second Amendment wasn't written about sports. But the members include manufacturers of sporting firearms and ammunition, and a wide array of accessories and equipment, manufacturers as well as distributors, retailers, shooting ranges, and many other companies and organizations in the hunting and shooting sports community. Look, this is the Shooting Sports Foundation. This is about sports. This is the biggest industry group that we have in this country when it comes to this. Today, membership includes thousands of manufacturers, distributors, firearms retailers, shooting ranges, sportsmen's organizations, and publishers nationwide. Now, here's their mission statement. NSF's mission: to promote, protect, and preserve hunting and the shooting sports. Formed in 1961, NSSF has a membership of thousands of manufacturers, distributors, firearms retailers, shooting ranges, sportsmen's organizations, and publishers nationwide. Yeah, they repeated that sentence twice, not me. So the largest industry group we have, they've now taken over the NRA as a whole as being at least from my research, okay? I'll just say this. In my opinion, I believe it to be that they've now taken over, and many times the NRA even, as the largest lobbyist when it becomes things like shooting sports. Because remember, that's all this is about. The Firearms Industries Trade Association, they're about sports. They're about hunting. And look, these are great. Of course, I'm all about the hunters and the sportsmen. But I'm sick and tired of always having to talk about this, but I have to. That's not what the Second Amendment's about. And the ATF is completely antithetical to the Second Amendment. So this is what they are. This is what they do. They put on this SHOT Show, which is the largest to-do that there is in the whole country. People scratch and claw and fight for a way to get in there. You have to be on a VIP list to be able to go. You have to have a certain, association with the industry to be able to go. Me, I get invited to it and I do nothing. Industry alert: ATF e-forms processing surge and system outages. This came out last week, but I want to cover it now. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, ATF, has acknowledged to the National Shooting Sports Foundation an unprecedented surge in e-forms submissions that is impacting system performance. On January 1st alone, ATF processed approximately 150,000 e-forms compared to a typical daily volume of 2,500. Now, look, I told you there's a lot of people getting these free tax stamps right now. A lot, as in on January 1st alone, 150,000 people. Now, I wonder what would happen if those 150,000 people a day called their Congress critter and said, no, you're going to abolish the NFA regardless, or you're fired. What if 150,000 people a day all showed up in rank and file to have a march and a peaceful protest at the Capitol? Moms Demand has their marches, and they get gun control by having tens of thousands of people show up. Where's all these millions of gun owners at in this country? Well, here's what it's come down to. Let's face it. Do you guys care if I'm blunt for a second here? I'm not talking to all of you. I'm talking to just, can I say something a little bit blunt that might offend a few that are weak in the knees? $100 million gun owners in this country. Dude, you couldn't possibly corral 100 million men into doing anything against their will. Think about this. Just come up with any strategy. Some of you have been in the military. Tell me how even a military could corral 100 million people. Now, not just 100 million people. What about 100 million men that have their own free will? To get them to do anything. You couldn't do it. Everybody knows that. So if you don't mind, I'm going to be a little blunt. There's 100 million, and I'm trying to keep this family friendly. Because trust me, I know all the words. I love the First Amendment. I like to keep this family friendly. And I try my hardest not to swear in front of my teenage daughter because I want to bring her up like a lady. So I don't swear on here because I want children to be able to listen to this. And it's up to the parents within that household to choose if they want cursing in front of their women and children. So don't mistake that. Every time I say this, I don't like, oh, grow a pair, say the First Amendment. No, here's the thing. I believe a man is a king of his own castle, and the man of the house decides if he wants to swear in front of his women and children. I don't like to swear in front of my daughter, so that's why I don't do it here. So let's just say this. If we had 100 million men in this country, none of this would even matter. But we have 100 million. It's another way to call a cat a kitten. If you know what I'm getting at. Here, kitty, kitty, kitty. You know, slang for that. We have tens of millions of those in this country. Clearly. But no, I just want you to think about these numbers. 150,000 people a day. To get the free tax stamp. If 150,000 people a day fought for anything pro-Second Amendment related like at all, you could see a sea change, actually. Trust me. 150,000 people a day have never rallied together for anything. Not on our side. So, again, I'm doing a deep dive on this because I want you all to put it into perspective. Yeah, and I do, Max Payne. You know me well enough by now. I know you're a regular viewer. I say some of these things as a term of art. Just because I don't laugh at my own jokes frequently on here, yeah. My sarcasm's a bit thick. And as dry as I can possibly keep it. Now, as a result of that volume of 150,000 tax stamps a day coming in, ATF is experiencing intermittent IT system glitches. As soon as I heard that, I'm like, good. Oh, their computers are smoking. The circuit boards are overheating. Hopefully they all turn off and stop working again. No, I'm not going to do anything to make it happen, but I think it would be awesome if I found out that all the ATF's computers went up in smoke. That'd be sweet. I would get out and dance a jig in the street for that, and I'm not a good dancer either. They don't want to be. But I would do it. Now, as a result, they're experiencing intermittent IT system glitches and delays that are affecting industry members nationwide. Well, how's it affecting the Second Amendment, though? That's what I would ask the NSSF. You know, I do thank God, and I say that literally. I literally thank God through Jesus Christ that our founding fathers weren't really worried about getting tax stamps for their guns. They weren't too worried about registering them with the crown. The founding fathers didn't ask if they were allowed to keep. No, when the Brits, no, we'll just say the redcoats, because the founding fathers were still Brits legally at that time as well. Now, when they came for their guns, you know, the famous midnight ride of Paul Revere, or maybe it was his apprentice when you look a little closer at history, but whatever. The moral of the story is Paul Revere and his did that midnight ride. One if by land, two if by sea. Now, they weren't just coming to have a waltz with each other. They were coming to confiscate the colonists' ammunition and gunpowder batteries, which they used to store essentially within town for fire reasons. With it being often have stables attached to your house with straw, and whole towns would get burned down back then from a horse kicking a lantern open. So they were coming for their magazines. The magazines for their ammunition and powder arsenals, and they said, nah, here's the problem. If we give those up, we ain't going to be able to shoot ourselves out of this debacle. And that's what kicked it off. The so-called shot heard around the world. They didn't register. They didn't ask the king if they were allowed to. Now, they did for decades before that, actually. They asked. They petitioned for a redress of grievance. They experienced taxation without representation. And that's what this tax is, even if it's $0. This is taxation without representation, because the ATF's not there as your advocate. These are the people that promulgate these rules to come after your guns. These are the people that's been known to kill a mother holding her infant child in her arms. That's who these people have been. That's who they are. Say, you can judge them by their fruits. And when you look at their fruits, you see what they do. The founding fathers didn't ask for none of that. They didn't believe in tax stamps. Shot heard around the world. There was 2 battles that pop up. Massachusetts. Concord Bridge, another place called Lexington Green. Just right down the road from each other, right there. And so it ensues, and here we are. Here we are. ATF has emphasized that it's actively working to address these technical issues. It is engaging directly with affected industry members to resolve problems as quickly as possible. Now, I would hope NSSF would have come back and said, yeah, and this is why tax stamps are unconstitutional. This is why the NFA is unconstitutional. This is why you need to call your congressman and say, abolish the ATF. Abolish the NFA. We've actually had dozens of members of Congress writing saying our intent was to actually remove these items from the NFA. Is it because all these Congress critters are particularly good people? Maybe here and there, but probably not. For the most part, it's because their constituents are demanding this. But Congress has become kind of just a formality at this point in so many cases, because we have the 4th unchecked branch of government. That's the bureaucracy. And we have the 5th, even more powerful unchecked branch of government, and that's the lobbyist. That's the lobbyist. That's people within our own companies lobbying for their own purposes. This is international organizations coming in, lobbying for other countries. In fact, there's people lobbying for almost every interest there is, except for actually yours in many cases. So let's see if the NSSF here is going to be calling for abolishing the ATF and the NFA. Look, there's so many glitches. There's so many technical issues. Good, let's just get rid of all of it. NSSF recognizes that these disruptions are frustrating for industry members and can result in operational challenges, customer service issues, and a loss of revenues. Customer service issues. See, here I am worrying about fighting for the Second Amendment. Customer service issues? Who is the customer? Are we all the customer or are we the product, actually? Oh, it's a serious question. Be careful when you answer it, though. Are we the customer or are we the product? Does the dog wag its tail, or is the tail wagging the dog? We have communicated these concerns directly to the ATF and underscored the importance of restoring system stability and reliability as soon as possible. Excuse me? Restore system stability? Restore it for what? So they can register more people? I mean, think about it. What would happen? Like Midwest Logger saying, and lose all the data on us? Yeah, I know, dude. How's it going, Midwest Logger? Oh, geez. That would be terrible if their servers crashed and they lost all of their illegal data on it. Well, here's the thing. Good thing the largest firearms industry association has got our back. ATF, we don't want you to lose any of the data that you have on the plebes. We want to make sure that you're still providing good customer service. No, I'm sorry. No, that ain't the way this works, actually. The customer? Customers? No. The government's supposed to work for us. We pay their salaries. They're supposed to be public servants. They're supposed to be waiting on us hand and foot. And don't forget that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. The only reason the government's allowed to exist at all is to protect our natural, God-given rights. And now we're the customer, and we need to make sure they can serve us better. And we need to make sure no matter what that their servers don't crash and they don't lose all of our data. Oh, geez, that would be terrible. Don't lose my tax stamp. Just think about that. We went from shall not be infringed to, oh, gosh, don't lose my tax stamp. What the hell country am I living in right now? No, they do want to get that stability and reliability back as soon as possible. Could you imagine in World War II a certain ethnicity / religious people saying, oh my gosh, the German oven broke down. We must get this oven repaired as quick as possible. The government has lots of baking to do. Hurry up. Every man, woman, and child, fix that oven. Fix that oven. Could you imagine that? I don't know, but this is what this sounds like to me. So, the most important thing right now, they're underscoring the importance of restoring system stability and reliability as soon as possible. Just to make sure as many people can get registered as quickly as possible. Yeah. Yeah, you're right, Fat Gray Man. System stability, non-existent, would be very stable. Yes. We need to all be advocating as much as possible. Abolish the ATF. Repeal the NFA. Now, here's the thing, though. Now, while the NSSF has communicated these concerns directly, and they've underscored the importance of restoring system stability and reliability as soon as possible, the ATF, they've acknowledged too. The ATF has acknowledged the urgency and reiterated its commitment to resolving these issues. How's it going, Harry Grimley? Don't forget to leave a thumbs up, guys. Your boy Harry's giving you a challenge. Thank you, Harry. I appreciate you, man. Now, hold on a minute here. The parliamentarian, was it just cover for the GOP? Maybe you guys can chime into the chat here. Or if you're watching on replay and answer Max's question. I think Max knows my answer to that, but Now, the government screwing something up. Now, in my opinion, wouldn't this be a good thing? Oh, I'm sorry, sir, but we just lost our file on all of your intimate details. I mean, how many of you would cry if the government's like, oh, geez, all those 4473s we've been scanning in? That's what the GOA has alleged. That's what they found out through FOIA requests in the last few years. Oh, geez. Oh, shucks. You just lost all of the registry of my guns. Oh, dang nabbit. Let me sign right back up and that one question I asked you guys a minute ago was a bit too spicy to answer. I get it. When I said, yeah, we need to get this oven working quicker, I mean, I know it was a bit of a spicy analogy, but I'm just saying, think about this. Now, the ATF has acknowledged the urgency and reiterated its commitment to resolving the issue. Sir, yes, sir. That's what you think of when you hear that. Aye, aye, sir. Sir, yes, sir. Oh, they're definitely all over this. Now, here's the thing. In the meantime, there's a song called that. In the meantime, comma, NSSF urges industry members to remain patient while ATF works through these growing pains. Adding 150,000 people each day to a registry. Now, don't forget, registration has always led to confiscation. And we see nothing to prove us wrong other than registration will always lead to confiscation. Growing pains. Don't you love how casual all this is? Just another walk on the beach. In the meantime, comma, NSSF urges industry members to remain patient while ATF works through these growing pains. Growing pains? Who says they want them to grow? We encourage retailers to document issues as they occur and to work directly with ATF when problems arise, as this information helps identify and correct systemic changes. Ooh, systemic. That's even worse than systematic. Wow. Systemic challenges. Wow, this is getting deep. Now, hold on a minute. This is what they want you to do about it. This is what we're all supposed to do about this. So hold on a minute. Where's your guesses? Are they going to say you all need to call Congress or peacefully protest in the streets or whatever, that we need to abolish the ATF and repeal the NFA? I'm servicing the customer, right, Mateo? What's happening, Mateo? How you doing, man? They're servicing the customer. The customer needs service. You boys getting ready. Here's what you need to do about this. I mean, geez, it's forbid the thought of them losing all your information. Like Midwest Logger said, I couldn't even sleep with myself at night if they lost all my files. NSSF strongly encourages all industry members to contact their United States representative and United States senators to advocate for additional funding for ATF. NSSF of their infamous SHOT Show that's starting in 10 days. The nation's largest industry group literally wrote, and this is from their website, I got this right from their page, NSSF strongly encourages all industry members to contact their U.S. representative and U.S. senators to advocate for additional funding for ATF. They're asking you, and they're asking all the gun shops, the manufacturers, just all of the industry. They want them to call Congress to advocate for additional funding for the ATF. Are you kidding me right now? If this was a joke, I'd be a bit more than a bit livid. I'm just getting sick and tired of all this crap. If this is what the gun industry's turned into, then they can venture forth and fornicate themselves too. Besides a couple companies out there who are really good, I run into nothing but problems every single time I try to buy anything. It's always so complicated. It's like pulling teeth. It's just... it's a lot of things. I'll finish reading it because I'm almost done, but call your representatives and senators to advocate for additional funding of the ATF? Much of the current disruption stems from outdated and under-resourced IT infrastructure. Could defund them all the way down to nothing. That's what I want. Congressional support for IT modernization is essential to improving system reliability and preventing similar disruptions in the future. IT modernization, do you know how scary that is? When you have a weaponized portion of the government, and the industry group, which I would note is one of the biggest lobbyists for all of this, now I ain't going to SHOT Show. This is not the first time this group's done stuff, in my opinions, that was FUD as all get out. Neo FUD, Elmer FUD, every version of FUD you can think of, in my opinion. This is not the first time they pulled BS. This is insulting. There's the last sentence. NSSF will continue to monitor the situation closely and provide updates as more information becomes available. Moms demand actions against us. Brady organizations against us. Mayors against guns are against us. Every town for guns is against us. Every pissed off wine mom and pink-haired soccer mom, liberals against us. I'm just going to tell you my honest opinion. The nation's largest firearm industry trade association is against us. Why do I say that? Because they want you, and they want all their members, all the industry members, to contact their U.S. representative and U.S. senator to advocate for additional funding for the ATF. So you've got the Trump administration. They've been slashing budgets of a lot of these bureaucracies. But this is also a populist administration. So when an industry giant like the NSSF comes in and says, we want more ATF, we want more funding for the ATF, that's something that's going to get the attention of the president and his office. So when they go saying stuff like, we want all members to encourage Congress to provide additional funding for the ATF, a lot of people in D.C. look at like they're speaking for all of us. They say, well, the gun owners want, the gun industry wants. The Second Amendment supporters want more funding for the ATF. So here, we'll do you a favor and give you all what you want. Because look, that's all Washington, D.C. is about, is pandering for your vote. The Second Amendment community has made it known that they need to start shaping up with all this anti-Second Amendment crap. Trump's been a lot less worse this administration than the former Vice President Biden was. And to be fair, Trump's been a lot less worse than this administration than he was in his first administration. It's just true. But now when you have the largest industry leader group saying that they're advocating and encouraging all their members to advocate for additional funding for the ATF, that makes it look like that's what the gun community wants. That's what it makes it look like the gun community demands. The NRA was making compromises about the bump stock ban, all this BS. And we got that ban. Pam Bondi, who's the current attorney general, was calling for red flag laws. And guess what? Just a couple years ago, we got that so-called Bipartisan Safer Communities Act that offers tons of federal funding to all of these different states to put in state red flag laws, including my home state of Michigan. And many others. Now, you'd like to think to yourself, our people should be on our side. But I'm not going to call these people our people. That's why it's so dang hard for a guy like me anymore. I don't like political parties. I don't identify as a Democrat. I mean, heck no. Not a Republican. I'm not even a libertarian. Certainly not a large L, but even not too much of a small L libertarian either. On certain things, sure. But am I a member of the gun community? I have to ask myself. I don't know. I guess. I mean, I have lots of friends that are into guns. I own a couple myself. I better make sure the NSSF gets their way and funds the ATF. I don't want that server to crash so they might forget all of them that I own. But if this is the gun community, if this is the gun industry community, then I don't want to be part of that either. I don't want to be part of a community that advocates for or be spoken for or anything like that. Now, I'm not a member of NSSF myself. I'm not in that business. But I know when a group this big speaks, it's perceived by Washington, it's perceived by politicians that they're speaking on behalf of gun owners, what we want. So here I am on the record. I officially renounce and remove myself from the gun community. I don't even want to be part of anything at all that advocates for more funding for the ATF. Period. End of story. Now, do I still have friends who own guns? Yes. Just did a live stream over on Locals and Rumble where I was talking about several cool guns. And I still will enjoy to do that with you guys on sites where I can actually produce types of content that I can't while I'm live here. But as far as saying I'm a member of the gun community, if this is what the gun community is now, then no. There's just so much to the ATF. I could actually talk about them for hours. I told you a couple longer stories again today, reminded you of stories that I know I've told before. But that is the last thing I would ever do, is call for more funding for the ATF. This is what I would expect Moms Demand Action to be calling for. This is what I would expect Brady Coalition to be calling for. This is what I would expect mayors against guns, every town against guns. I would actually expect them to do that. And I don't respect those groups at all, actually, because I can't respect any group that's here in America trying to undermine our natural God-given right to keep and bear arms as protected by the Second Amendment. But although I don't respect them at all, I respect them a little bit more than I do other people. Look, I'm being serious. I respect them zero. But even though I have zero respect, I still respect them just this much more. Because they at least tell you they're gun control groups. They tell you they're coming after our guns. They want more ATF. They were against the $0 tax. They want $5,000 tax. They want $1 million tax, I've heard them saying recently. They want to completely and utterly get rid of the Second Amendment, which I have zero respect for, but at least you told me. That's what you want to do. Now, they're very misleading too, and they lie to you all the time. Don't get me wrong. But I'm just have a little bit less respect for the NSSF than I do all those gun control groups. This is supposed to be the largest industry group. Just goes to show you, man, when there's a good bit of money to be made, that's all that really matters. Because these people here, that a lot of people perceive as are supposed to be one of us, they're advocating for more funding. They're advocating that all their people advocate. Congress. Call your congressman. Advocate for additional funding for the ATF. Are you kidding me right now? You're going to bloat these people up even more? See, when I read this crap, it's like, oh, geez, I can barely breathe with this 100-pound jackboot on my neck. And then you've got the largest firearms industry leader saying, no. We want a 200-pound jackboot on their neck. Well, geez, is that enough? Maybe a 500-pound boot. I mean, how much money do you want me to call my congressman and ask for, NSSF? I mean, do you want another $1 million for the ATF? Should I ask him for $1 billion, $1 trillion, $1 gazillion? Oh, yes, Congressman Wahlberg, I have a very important constituent concern. Oh, what's that, sir? I'd like a gazillion trillion dollars to be allocated to the ATF. And why is that, sir? Well, because the leading gun industry group told me to. Are you kidding me right now? Should I call Senator Gary Peters? Or better yet, call Senator Alyssa Slotkin? How about this? I'll call Michigan Senator Alyssa Slotkin. This is one of the most anti-Second Amendment that there is in Washington. I'm going to say, excuse me, ma'am. How much money do you want to fund to the ATF so they can put their boot on me a little more and register more things and take more of my guns? And she's like, wow, if I have my way about it, I want to put $10 million into them. I'm like, that's inadequate, Senator. I hereby come. With the demands of the NSSF, I need a cajillion zillion dollars. Well, that'd be enough for them to confiscate all your guns. Yes, ma'am. Let's do this. And then I'm going to be besties with Alyssa Slotkin. We're going to be so close. We'll be nuzzling together. My hair will be pink. My wife's going to get jealous. But hey, at the end of the day, I'm going to find myself as bedfellows with Alyssa Slotkin if I do what the NSSF's asking me to do. Or asking their members what to do. More funding for the ATF? You would think this would be what the biggest gun grabbing organizations are asking for. In fact, I can't tell by reading this statement what this organization's for. In my opinion, this is an anti-Second Amendment organization. In my opinion, this is an organization that's calling for gun grabbing. Because I'm literally reading the words here. Strongly encouraged. This reminds me of Glock. Strongly encouraging the state legislature to ban a whole classification. Strongly encourage. Yeah, up yours. It's pretty much where I'm at with all this. Up yours, whatever. And at the same time, I know a lot of my viewers are real excited about SHOT Show. People are real excited. I'm not. If you are, good for you. All right, I'm going to take a look at the chat here, and I just got my first super chat of the night. Fun to Learn, channel member, and a $5 super chat. Thanks, Fun to Learn. Nice to see you, man. He just sure makes you wonder what kind of deals are made with the extra money. Thanks for continued information and awareness. No, you're right, man. It does make you wonder, doesn't it? What kind of deals are being made? How much more money do they want for ATF funding? Yeah. No, it's a good question. It's fun to learn. And part of me says I wish I could answer that for you, but I'm glad I can't answer that for you. Trust me, dude. If I was the one that could answer that question, you wouldn't want to be my friend anymore. Do you guys agree? Like, you wouldn't want to be friends with someone, would any of you, that could actually answer his question there? But it's a good question to ask. And I'm glad for you asking the question. There is no way that I'm actually going to be able to answer what kind of deals are made with the extra money. You don't even want to know. There's my answer. You don't want to know, dude. I don't want to know. Slobskin and 8IWS just said, no, I'm serious. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine that? Me and her will be good friends watching TV together. I'll let her start putting pink and purple highlights in my hair. We'll be best friends. I mean, think about it, dude. You would end up being besties with one of these leftist senators. You know what I mean? Now, look, guys, I was joking. I'm literally not going to lay down in an actual bed with her. It's a political saying. You know, bedfellows. Sometimes people are so literal. I'm going to get that comment. Did you say you're going to bet Alyssa Slotkin? No, it's a rhetorical figure of speech. Uncanny bedfellows in politics. It's a saying. I'm not literally going to lay down. Yeah, it's one big club and we ain't in it. Well, I've given my 2 cents on this topic tonight. Let me know what all of you think. If there's anybody watching on replay, shout out to the replay crew. And I am going to put out a much more concise, maybe, I don't know, 8 to 10 minute video on this, I think, this weekend. Because some people like long form content and some don't. It depends, actually. Here's the deal I'm going to do. If only like 1 or 2 people whine in the comment section and say, get to the point, you should be able to report this in 60 seconds or less. If only 1 or 2 people whine, I will do an 8 to 10 minute video that people will be able to watch that just don't have enough time in the day too. But if 3 or more people whine like petulant little children, then I'll probably just say, screw it. I've got a lot better stuff to do. And then I probably won't. Does that make sense? That's fair enough, isn't it? Because here's the deal, man. Like, you know what I'm saying, Mateo. At the end of the day, and look, I'm not talking to 99% of you guys. It's that old saying. You throw a rock into a pack of dogs, the one that yelps is the one you hit. So there might be somebody out there this applies to, but it doesn't apply to all the rest of you. If it doesn't, just laugh along with me. But I'm so frustrated with the crap from the anti-gun, so-called. I get so frustrated with this kind of crap from gun industry organizations. I just don't have much patience when it's all said and done to deal with shallow, low aptitude, whiny, mealy-mouthed, stupid people. It's just the way it is nowadays. It is. Somebody doesn't have to be smart. You can be stupid and I'll be your friend. If you're a good guy and you just need a shoulder to cry on, I'll still be your friend. You can either be stupid and I'll be your friend, or you can whine and be my friend. But if somebody's stupid and they whine all the time, I'm not going to be friends with them. That's fair enough, isn't it? I mean, they can be stupid, we can still be friends, or they can sometimes whine. But when they're a bit of both, nah. And it happens more than you all would think it does. It happens more than you'd think it does. I'm sitting here trying to fight off the other side. I'm calling out what a lot of people would consider to be our own. And then there's these people out there that are just like, whatever. Go watch your TikTok. I'm sure in 60 seconds somebody can provide all of the deep thought that this stream did in an hour and a half. Go for it. Call your congressman, tell him as much money as possible. We need more ATF. We don't want a chance that they could possibly lose those files. Like Midwest Longer said, don't let them lose those files, guys. What's happening, Drew in Oregon? Nice to see you, man. Tea party. Yeah, we'll have a tea party together. Me and my senator. We'll be good friends once we advocate for more ATF. And there you go. Max Payne says, quote, misery acquaints a man with strange bedfellows. See, that's what I meant. Thank you for giving me that quote, because there is always like that ultra literal person out there that's like, he wants to go to, no, I'm not late. Very happily married, thank you. But no, you're right. Thanks for bailing me out, dude. There is always the person out there that'll come in and say that. Well, actually, to AEDU, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I don't know about that. Wuffagoey, they're nuts. Well, I will catch up on all the chat afterwards this weekend and see what you guys had to say tonight. Maybe some of you think that I'm nuts and you're like, dude, what's wrong with you? We need to advocate as much money to the ATF as possible. I need those free tax stamps even faster. And hey, man, you guys make your own decisions. And I'm not going to be sitting in your house monitoring your phone calls. You know what I'm saying? You know what's interesting is all these different government bureaucrats, right? All the different ones. And then you've got the NSA, which is the only government branch that actually listens to what you have to say. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching, and have a good one. And real quick in the end, since you guys were lurking, good night, Fluffy 10mm. How you doing, man? Nice to see you. Gore, what's happening, man? Thanks for being a channel member, and nice to see you. And good night, Randy Smith. Take it easy, man. And I wonder the same thing. Good night, Pillbox Bunker. See, you guys all come in at the end of the night, and I feel bad because I didn't get a chance to say hi to you. So hurry up. Get in here, lurkers. What's up, Vince Metzger? Nice to see you, Vince. Mike Hammond, haven't seen you in a while, but good to see you back on here hanging out. Nice to see you. Nice to see you, Barry. What's happening? Harry Grimley, as always, nice to see you, sir. There he is, Ross. What's happening, Ross77? Nice to see you, man. M. Gabriel's out there lurking. What's happening, M. Gabriel? Nice to see you. No, I get it. You guys lurk. I often lurk too. Just look, I'm not the ATF. I'm not going to bite. I'm not going to go after your dog. Just show yourself just enough where I can say hi to you. That's all. Mr. C, what's happening, Mr. C? How you doing, man? Thank you for being a channel member, and you hang in there too, man. He's throwing up the old deuces to us in the chat, which is nice. Fat Gray Man, peace be with you too. All right. I don't think I missed anybody. JR coming in at the very last second. What's happening, JR? I told you guys there's like lots of really good people in here. Like, and here they all come at the end, right, Dale? I know what Dale's doing right now. He's out there steeping a hot pot of tea, and these guys are all sitting there drinking tea right now. And Dale's got them all distracted where they can't come in the chat and say good night to me. I see how it is, man. J.O. Pete's. Well, shout out to Cheryl. I thought me and Dale were friends. See, I just got a memo. They said Dale's the one personally. These guys are getting a little bit of their shine on with Dale's special brewed tea right now. Jeez, oh Pete's, man. All right, keep drinking tea with Dale, guys. I'm gonna let you all go so you can have fun doing your whole thing. But somebody just told me that's why they're all lurking tonight. Dale's got them sidetracked. Good night, Jim. Take it easy, man. Thank you for being a channel member. And I will see you all again soon. All right. Thanks for watching. And have a good one.